Welcome to a video from thislifestyle.com. In this video, I'm going to have a look at what the filters are on the Korg Wavestate. I've got my Wavestate module rack straight in front of me, and I've got the editor up here as well. So, filter is an interesting thing when you get on the Wavestate, because the Wavestate has got sample playback, so you can get samples. And then the really good thing about it, you can pass those samples through the filter, like an analog synth. So, for example, I've got a Sawtooth, and I passed it through a filter, and I've got resonance as well. Resonant filters. So something like the Wave Station had a filter, but not resonant filters as well. And of course, those Wave Station patches are in there. Samples are in there as well, so you can see all those are in there. But even though the samples, you can still pass them through. Let me just find one, a guitar sound. So there's a sample, so that is the filter. So let's just talk about the different filter types, and I'm just going to go back to a Sawtooth for this because it's just a nice easy way of demonstrating. So there's a Sawtooth wave, traditional analog synth type wave, and you can bring it in and out with the filter like that. So let's look at the different filter models first. We've got one that's modelled after the Korg PolySix, which has got a nice warm sound. I quite like that one. One after the MS-20, which is a bit more grittier, and you can't always instantly tell, especially with the filter open, you won't be able to tell at all. But when you start bringing them down like this, yeah, you can hear the difference. And there's a 2-pole low pass, which is quite a low one, and then the 4-pole one. You can hear they've got different characteristics. So you can play with those to get them. I find the PolySix is nice for nice warm sort of sound. MS-20 a bit more grittier. Those are the low pass ones. But then you've got a high pass, which is kind of the opposite. So that chops away the high end. So if I have it all the way open, like that, you can't hear anything. I can bring that high pass in. I'm just turning the resonance down. And I found this one works great for synth strings, Selena type, string ensemble type sounds. You've got a band pass, which is like the opposite, which is like a combination. It chops off the bottom and the top, leaves you the middle, which is often good for vocal type sounds. Well, it's kind of almost vowel-y type sounds. You've got a band reject, which cuts out the middle. And here, if you can start to modulate that, you get into sort of phaser effects without using one of the effects, which is quite good because you can use it for something else. So I like those. And you've also got multi-filter as well. So multi-filter has 2 filters, and you can crossfade between them. So we've got a low pass and a high pass. So there's our low pass. And then if I go all the way to the high pass, and you can go between them. And of course, the great thing about this is all these controls are adjustable or modifiable through all the different parameters. So that crossfade there, I could assign it to an LFO. Let's just use the pan LFO. I'm not using that one at the moment. And there's the pan LFO, which I could tempo sync, or I could at least sync it together and have it free running so that it so I can have it free running. And of course you can make that more subtle. So straight away you've got some nice interesting filter effects. And that's using the this custom one, and you've got loads of different options as well. You've got a bandpass going through a low pass to bandpass, a band reject. You can build any combination of these things. So I do like those. So let's go back to the PolySix one now. You see we've got a couple of different modes here. You've got a loud mode with less resonance. Let's see if I can hear that. So you can hear the effect it has. So the volume gets reduced, but the resonance goes up because you need the resonance to have the headroom to be able to hear it. If you increase the volume, there's less headroom for the resonance, so the resonance goes quieter. So you've got control over that. And of course, the other thing you can do, you can sweep through all these. So you can have a filter envelope. If we go to envelopes, you'll see here there's a filter envelope. So if I turn the cutoff right down to nothing, you can't hear anything. If I increase the intensity, and over on the front panel here, you've got the intensity there. You can see that envelope, and I can adjust that envelope. And I can play the resonance. And then if I increase the release on the amp as well, not that much. And then what? You can hear that filter closing as soon as I release it. So I'm going to put some release on the filter. Sound quite good. So that's the envelope control. You've seen it on there, I've seen it on the screen, on the editor. You can have key tracking. So key tracking will open and close the envelope or the cutoff depending on where you are on the key. So this just, you have a brighter sound as you go up the keyboard. So you turn the key tracking up like that. So it's quite closed down here. Up here, it's quite high, but I will need to turn down that intensity so you can hear the envelope intensity. So yeah, you can hear that. Of course, you can have the reverse. I could change that key tracking the opposite way. So it closes as I move up the keyboard. But it's often used to emulate the brightness increasing on as you go up the keyboard. A useful one as well, of course, is velocity envelope. So that combines the velocity and the envelope together to create a brighter sound. Another one I found really useful on the filter as well is the Poly Aftertouch. If you've got a Poly Aftertouch controller, which I've got a key stage, so if I apply some Poly Aftertouch, just to reach over to my key stage. It's a bit too much. So it's always quite handy. Now I mentioned about sort of getting a nice string sounds. Let's turn that resonance down now. If I go to a high pass, now I don't need much envelope on this, so I'm going to recreate a sort of Selena type sound. You can bring this down as well to, in fact, I'm going to set that to 0 because those weren't touched. Well, the Selena I've got doesn't touch anything. So what you could do is apply a bit of filter LFO to that one and make it quite slow, and then especially if you get free running, it gives that movement to it. And what I mean by free running as well, if you've not already seen this before, so LFO in this mode with not synced restarts. So even if I get very slow LFO and make quite obvious. Right, so there you go. Hit up, down. Let's make it slower. There you can see it going up, and then back down again. When I restart that, each time the LFO gets re-triggered by the key. So I play a chord, and if I do them one note slightly after the other, it's hard to hear with this sound, but if I perhaps make it a bit faster, you can hear it. So they're not in sync. So that each key gets its own independent LFO. But what you can do is you can sync them together. So they'll always be locked together. Now, at the moment, it just syncs the notes. So if I have a very slow LFO, every time I restart or press the key down again, it re-triggers the envelope. It re-triggers the LFO because it's key synced. If I change it to free running, it will just keep running. So by setting it as free running, it doesn't restart. So even if you've got a very slow LFO, you'll see it just keeps going up and down and it doesn't stop. And when I play the keys, it just carries on from where it's just carrying on. So even in the background, it's constantly playing. So that's a really nice way of creating sort of movement on it. That's like an old school synth, really. You can use that, especially if you wanted to do like the opposite way. Let's go to a maybe you sort of turn it up a bit to turn the LFO. You sort of that effect without the sync note and the thing. You'll never get that because it'll never re-trigger. So the other couple of tips as well is if you've got a lot of resonance, sometimes it's worth dropping the output level down to give you the extra headroom, especially if you want a lot of resonance, like these do really, but this gives you. So of course, when you put all this together, you can make some really interesting analog sounding sounds from it. Let's have a look. Here's a CS80 type sound with the bandpass strings and some other strings on there. You see using the bandpass there on one layer, and the other layer I'm using a 4-pole, kind of like Moog. I think the 4-pole is more like the CS80. And here's one where I was kind of creating an art pro soloist. And you can hear that that sort of analog synth sound with the resonance. I'm just using a square wave from that, so there's no samples to get that sort of filter sound. That's purely using the filters. So I hope that helps. It's a really powerful feature of the Wavestate, having samples and analog style filters as well put together. I know other synths have got it, but it works really well on this. And I haven't even touched using it with the motion sequencer, which is definitely something. And I haven't even touched using it with the wave sequencer. That's something that's well worth looking at. Something like this, where you can see I'm playing with the filter, creating those ratchet effects, and that's using 2 layers with the filter. So I hope that is useful for you. If you've got any suggestions for Wavestate videos, mod wave or multi-poly, please let me know. I do like doing these. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.